Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Detectives, the podcast and YouTube channel where we're trying to uncover clues of great leadership to help develop you as leaders or to help you if you want to become a leader. In this episode, if you've ever wondered why some leaders people just want to follow, people leave companies to follow, people never want to leave working for them. If you want to know the secrets as to what makes a leader like that, then this episode's for you. We're delighted to be joined by an old friend of ours, James Hunnybourne, to take us through how focusing on people is such an important part of being a great leader. We hope you enjoy this episode. Please subscribe. Please give us a thumbs up if you enjoy it. And we look forward to seeing your comments. Enjoy. We're live.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Leadership Detectives. I think you can see out the window, right? So it's late evening today. We're recording slightly differently today, but welcome back. Just up front, just say thank you for all your comments and feedback that we've been getting. So that's good. We're into 2021. Neil, good to see you. How are you? You good?
I'm great, thank you. Yeah, feeling good. Look, I've missed talking to you, so I'm looking forward to getting stuck into another episode. And also delighted to be joined by a guest and an old friend of ours that we've known for a long time, James Hunnybourne, who currently is Head of Services Business Development at Softcat. Welcome, James. How you doing?
Hi, Neil. I am good, thank you. I am good. Yeah, still awake, even though it's dark outside.
Well, I know you're an early bird like me, so you're winding towards the end of your day, whereas Albert only drags himself out of bed about 10 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I know.
Actually, it was sad. I was on conference calls at 7 this morning. Well, I didn't know there was still a 7 in the morning. I thot it was only 1 in the evening. But there you go.
Must have been a shock to the system.
Good to see you, James. Welcome to the call.
It's good to see you again, Albert. It's great to see you both.
It's been a while. It's been a while since we've talked. So really good to spend the time with you. Neil suggested you as a guest and we deliberated hard and decided we would go ahead with it.
I was going to say I was really flattered when you asked me, but not so much now, right?
No, really good.
Now you're number 31. I'm assuming I was the 31st choice that you got around to. Right?
No, we just wanted to practice a bit before we got to the,
until you got to the important ones.
We weren't ready for you yet.
Right. So let's start off with a nice, straightforward question to get going. So if you were being introduced onto a stage to present to a big audience of people, how would you like to be introduced?
Okay. So I want to say that I've been working in technology for the last 25 years. I am a developer of businesses, but primarily people. I'm rounded with my skills, having done everything from selling through to delivery, through to management and that. And I love what I do.
Okay. And what specifically, what do you love? What's the thing that you love most about what you do?
Do you know, in the job I'm in right now, I'm really fortunate, right? I have a passion for creating things. I always have done that. I don't know, it probably goes back to when I was like a kid with Lego, or last week with a bit of Lego, depends on how you look at it. So, but no, right now I've got the opportunity to be able to take ideas for businesses and turn these into real things, right? So when Softcat wants to develop a cloud business, when they want to develop a cyber business, they would come to my teams and basically we would do the research, development and then creation of the services. And these things, like, not only do they bring value to our customers and that, but they also give me the opportunity to hire new people, develop new people, give people that are already in Softcat other opportunities and other things to go and look at. So for me, that's one of my passions, right? I love helping people and I love developing people, and that's why I'm in the job I'm in right now.
Perfect.
That's interesting, actually, right? Because I think back to James. You and I haven't kept in contact. Actually, when did you leave Big Blue?
Oh God, 9 years ago.
9 years ago, right? So I left 5 years ago. Neil, I think you left 5 years ago. But Neil's kept in touch with you more than I have. So my memories of James Hunnybourne was a senior professional, a very competent one, a very good salesperson. But Neil was telling me about how you've developed just your leadership career. And we went, wow, let's hear that. So for my own part, I'd like to understand the journey from where you were, that successful senior professional. I didn't even know you had aspirations of leadership, but I hear you're a really good leader. How did that work? What happened there?
Okay, so it come down to like a life-changing mentoring session, right? And which is why I'm always really passionate about wanting to mentor people, right? I spent my entire life in IBM going around doing a number of different roles, because ideally my utopia was want to be a business unit leader, and to be the leader of that unit I wanted to understand what it's like to do delivery, what it's like to do some commercial, what it's like to do sales. And I figured if I lived the roles, it would make me the next, the natural choice, the most rounded person. But what I learned quite late in my career in IBM was to understand a little bit more about what I really wanted to get out and why I wanted to go in the direction that I did. And some realization of what IBM was giving me, and what other potentials there were elsewhere in the world, right? So, and what it did was literally from this first session, I got a really good understanding of what it is I really, really wanted to do. And I was stupidly going round in circles rather than having a plan and moving forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I thought about this a lot, and I thought about what my plan could be, where it is I actually wanted to go. And I tell you, the minute I made that decision, I had left IBM probably a month and a half after that decision.
Okay.
I became a manager, a senior manager, and then a director within 12 months.
Okay.
Because I had, and it wasn't a race. I was very fortunate for it to work out that way. What IBM did give me, and all of that moving around and doing lots of different roles, actually did give me a really solid grounding for the area that I was going into.
Mm-hmm.
And just allowed me to pull all those things together. But I moved out of Big Blue and into the Channel, and the Channel was a very different beast, and it moved at a very different speed.
Yeah.
And it gave elements of knowledge with a bit of entrepreneurial thinking that allowed you to be able to accelerate. And that's exactly what happened. So, and I loved leadership. I really did. And I think some of it comes back from there's always that little bit of you in the background saying, I could do that better. You don't know if you could, right? But it's very easy when you're not a leader to
Especially when you work for us.
being made by leaders, right? Really go, I could do that. Yeah, and all right, let's brush over the fact I've worked for both of you in the past. Obviously, I'm not talking about you two, right? So, but it was the want to, I could see a clear way. I could see how things could work. I could see how I could do things a little bit better, or I thought I could do things a little bit better. And that's what drove me to want to take more responsibility and go more for a leadership role. It was literally the autonomy. That and maybe, a tiny, tiny sliver of a problem with authority, right? So I went the more autonomy I had. I do thrive in autonomy. I do love making my own decisions. I do like steering my own ship and all that kind of stuff. And it's easier to do that the higher up you get, right?
So just, you said something really important at the beginning of talking about this decision process. You said you made a plan.
Yes.
And we've heard that before, actually, that from, I think it was Carmina actually said the same thing. She made a plan. So how, kind of just share with people here, because it's all about uncovering clues of leadership. Share, what was that, a detailed plan? Was it a high level plan? Was it a 5-year plan? What did that kind of look like?
So there was, what I had was I'd made a short, a medium and a long-term plan, right? My long-term plan was hazier, right? But it was literally, the longer-term plan was built on my utopia of what it is that I wanted to be, right? I tried to go back and think what it was like when I was 10 years old. What did I want to be when I was 10 years old? But a starship captain was not really a commonplace nowadays, right? And being the first person to travel to another galaxy and meet other non-human life probably wasn't going to happen in my lifetime, right? Plus, I think I probably missed the boat a little bit on that, staying in technology for such a long time. But seriously, no, I had to understand what it is that I really enjoyed doing and what I didn't like doing. And that's a little bit further along the lines of not just what I like doing, but what I'm good at doing and what I'm bad at doing, right? So once I started to work this out, and I'll happily tell everybody it was you that helped me work this out, right? Once I started to work this out, I had a much better idea of the type of roles that would make me happier and I would excel in because they would play to my strengths.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's when, and I looked at a number of different routes. It's like, do I actually want to just stay in sales and just earn the money and not be responsible for things, or do I want to take on more responsibility? And if I do, why do I want to do that? What was the reasoning behind it?
Mm-hmm.
So it took me a while. I mean, this wasn't a quick thing. Like I say, it took me like a month and a half of thinking, and I continue to refine it as time goes on. And as I change, as I get a little bit older, so do my priorities a little bit, right?
Mm.
But what I love doing, what I don't like doing is still quite clear for me. And being in a position where I could surround myself with a good team that can help mitigate against the things that I'm not very good at and allow me to help them with my strengths really appealed to me. And like I said, I had an early opportunity to be able to do that once I looked out into the market.
From what I remember, James, you were big into martial arts, right? And I think you're what are you now, 3rd degree black belt?
Yeah.
But that says to me, you've got focus, but you probably also like getting the medals, right? So how much of that, what you've just described there, how much of that was about you wanting to be a leader because of what it gave you, and how much of it was about because of the impact you wanted to have?
Do you know, I thought initially it was about me, right? And the recognition that I could get and I could be successful, and that, successful as a team, but it was about me. As I actually did the role,
Mm-hmm.
it become, for me, and I do nowadays, I spend way more time championing my people and getting them the recognition that they deserve than I do myself.
Yeah,
So
how satisfying is that, right?
It is satisfying. I mean, they make me look good, right? There's no denying, but I've built a good team that they know where my strengths are and I know where their strengths are.
Yeah.
Right. And I am very, very happy to be the first person to say it was all this person's work. This person's brilliant. They're absolutely amazing. And I'm not we did it a team, i.e. under my leadership, and that it was under my leadership, but that's kind of a given. People can see that. The bit that I got more passionate about was literally the people rather than the recognition.
Okay.
And what's interesting about that was, I was going to ask you a question around this, actually, was around loyalty. So, I know from talking to you since you've been in leadership roles and know the people who've worked for you as well, you attract loyalty. People want to work for you and work with you. And is that down to the fact that you focus on the people? Do you think what do you think that's down to? Why does that happen?
I think it's a combination of things. It's, I think if you're a good boss and you're open and you're honest and you look after your people and that, then people will move with good bosses, right? People leave jobs. We all know people leave jobs because they got bad bosses, and we've all had like bad bosses that just made your life hell. If you have good bosses that value what you say, and you have the ability to be able to change their mind and input into the direction and the success of where you're going, then that breeds an element of loyalty. That, and I must spend a quarter to a third of my time with my direct reports, helping develop them from a business and from a personal perspective.
Does that have an impact on the way that you can contribute to the business then? So are you less effective at your job because you're spending so much time managing?
Completely the opposite. We're way stronger as a team, right? It's all about getting the team to go through the same process that I did, so I understand where they're strong, what they're passionate about. If you stick the right people in the right roles, and you can do that in a team or with a team of leaders, you can have a really, really powerful unit, right? And it's proven it. I mean, the success that we've had in Softcat over the past 4.5 years has been phenomenal.
Mm.
So and which is really interesting. And the reason I was asking the question a little bit tongue in cheek, because when we're working with leaders, typically you hear, I haven't got time for my people. You know, in fact, I've come off a call today with another business where they were going through the agenda of everything in their leadership team that needed dealing with, ran out of time for the people piece. And
bottom of the priorities.
Yeah, so it's interesting that you do that. Now, I know that Softcat is a very people-orientated company as well. So does that help, the fact you're in a company that recognizes that as a strength in leadership?
It does, because I mean, Softcat's really strong on its culture, and its culture starts with people first. Simple as that. I mean, and it is, right. A lot of companies will say we put their people first, but I tell you what, I've seen leadership in Softcat prove that time and time again, right? And it is fantastic, right? But the way I see it, right, is when you're in a channel, it's not like back when I was in Big Blue, right? I mean, that they would manufacture, and produce products, right, continuously. In the channel, my products are my people, right? They're the ones with the knowledge, and they're the ones with the relationships, and they're the ones that are actually going to make us successful. So why wouldn't you prioritize your product, right, above everything else? That's all I'm really doing. I'm prioritizing my product and just making it better and better as much as possible, right? The tricky bit is continuing to get the oxygen mask of your own development in, so you can continue to develop those. Because I've got some exceptional people, some because they've been built to be exceptional because they're in the right jobs doing the right things, and some of it's just pure luck. I have just inherited some of the most fantastic, very, very capable people that are going to go on and do fantastically well.
Although it's easy to upset people and lose them.
Yeah, exactly.
People do that really well. Let's go down, I'll leave it with Albert. Let's go down another line.
So look, so you've been doing this for 9 years now, right? You've been into leadership. And there must have been some special times along the way, right? So let's think about a couple of proud moments. So moments where you go, wow, I did that, we did. Tell me about some proud moments as a leader, not about James the individual, but as a leader.
Fine. So first year in Softcat, I was brought in to do a particular role, and that was to build a specific service. I set the team. Now, to Neil's point earlier on, I was able to bring some people into Softcat with me because they had come with me through a couple of previous companies. So I knew I had a strong team behind me, and we went in there and we built a service. And I set the impossible task of, one, obliterating all the targets that were given for this service in the first place. And also I wanted it to be the very best in the industry. So I wanted it to win industry awards in the first year and all this kind of a really, really difficult task. But 12 months in, we won. So first year in, we smashed those targets and we won the awards. And these awards, were against people who've been doing this for like 30 odd years in the industry. And for us to come in and take it in first year, really, really proud. Team that I brought in, the sales team that I brought in, they won sales team of the year in the first year they were in the company. So they were brand new into the company, first year in, and they become number one. And so number one people, number one product. It was a really, really proud moment. It was awesome.
I mean, that's an amazing achievement, and congratulations for doing that. I'm interested because what you set at the beginning of that was a really ambitious vision and direction, which is clearly, we know from all the interviews we've done and our own personal experience, that when you get that, that's how you get people behind you. But what drove you to do that, to set such an you could have just come in and done the job you were asked to do. Why come in and
I wanted something for people to be passionate about and to get behind. It's like, actually, I wanted a theme that actually, no, that's the goal. The goal isn't to build this. It's to be the best, right? It is to prove that we can come in and we can be better than everybody else, right? So a little bit of arrogance, a little bit of a, shoot for the moon. But every time we had the meetings, every time we had those sessions, it was like, is that going to make us the best, or is that just good? And we continue to keep, which is kind of what I was saying about earlier on about, making sure that when you're you're looking after your team and you're spending all the time with them, they all clearly understand where you're going. And to give them one goal is a really simple way of
one direction.
And you said you brought some people with you, right? So just what's the definition of poaching? Let me just think.
I believe it's
I tease, right? I tease, but actually the serious side
role that they apply for.
Well, the serious side is they came with you, James, right? Why did they come with you? They could have stayed where they were, but they decided to come with you, right? So let's just follow that. Why did they come with you? What made them leave where they were and come and join you in the company you'd gone to? Because you didn't force them to come, right? Unless you had any photographs of them. They chose to come and join you. Why was that?
It's a difficult question to answer, because I would hope it's because they saw something in me as a leader that they felt passionate enough to leave the job. They had enough belief in me so that I will be successful at what I do next, and I will make them successful as well at the same time. And to be honest, and this is difficult sometimes as well. I've got 3 rules about trying to be a boss, right? Or 3 pieces of advice. And, one of them is about really getting to understand yourself, your passions, your loves, your hates. One of them is about building a plan, I mentioned. The third one is just don't be a dick, right? So, and
I think I know who helped you with that one.
Yeah. Well, funny enough, yeah. There's good ways of dealing with things, and there's bad ways of dealing with things. And I think if the people below you know that you will do everything possible to look after them, then that breeds loyalty, and the loyalty means that they come with you.
Yeah.
So I was just going to ask you. So it sounds like there's a James Hunnybourne recipe to being a great leader here, which is this: having an ambitious vision and goal and striving towards that. And I'm guessing you just don't communicate that once at the beginning of the year. You're constantly focused on that. The other piece is about focusing on the people. That's clear. What else would you say is an important factor in great leadership?
Knowledge, networking, diversity, right? Just because, it's a risk moving into a new company, doing things maybe the way that you would do them that have worked previously isn't always the great. So it's got to fit the culture, it's got to fit the shape of the company. So getting as many voices in as possible to listen to your team, never believing that you're arrogant enough to have all the answers yourself, right? I mean, it's kind of a given, but then don't just keep it to your team, right? I have a good network of people, and people that have absolutely nothing to do with IT. And you talk to them about IT, and it's just like, that doesn't make any sense. Why didn't you do that? And it's like, I had never thought of that.
Yeah,
that's really
honestly, I'd never thought of that.
Was that like a circle of mentors then outside that you can talk to about business type issues, and they will kind of bounce stuff off you?
It's friends, it's family, it's people that I've known that have gone on to now do different things. It's people that are left over from uni days or education or courses, and it's just a mix. It's just a mix, and that's my network's quite eclectic, right? And it's difficult. It can be difficult in the role that I have, because when you're constantly pushing forward and you're trying to break new ground and do new things, and you are the leader of that area, there aren't many places you could go to say, can you help me with this? Right? I was thinking of doing it. Is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? So you feel a little bit of the loneliness of having to always make the decision. So if I can make that as informed as humanly possible, and make it just bring as much diversity into that as possible, I will.
So I would summarize what you've just said there, really, because firstly, the listening piece is really key, and that we've heard that time and time again, but not enough people do it. They think communication is all one way. But this is a really interesting point that I don't think's come up before, and I think it's so important to just focus on it, is having this network, this mastermind group of mentors, friends, sounding board, people that you can go to, because you don't have all the answers, you can't make all the decisions, you do need to have somewhere you can go. And I'm not sure how many leaders actually do that or actively seek that. So that's a really good tip I would suggest from this discussion.
Cool. Yeah. It was, you know, it's nothing better. It's nothing worse. You've had a really bad day, right? And things that seem really, really important to you. You just go and explain it to somebody who has absolutely no investment or interest or even knowledge about what you're talking about because they can't relate. It's a really cool way of just like taking the fire out of it, right? And just grounding you a little bit. So I use it in that way, but also, like I said, just, you know, everybody looks at it through different eyes, right? If I hired a whole bunch of without probably stuff that you've probably heard a million times. If I hired a whole bunch of people that thought the same way that I did, we'd always go in the same direction and do the same thing, right? And you can't do that because you become stale, right? So,
but that network could be your buddies down the pub. It could be people you have dinner with, and you didn't plan to have this conversation at dinner.
It doesn't have to be leaders or anything like that. No, not at all. It's just somebody that you can. Like somebody who has a different perspective from yours who doesn't know really what the problem is.
When you look at the question that Neil pursued there around you having a network and wherever those people come from seems like a very strong angle we've not thought of before, because you also said the word, James, right, which you've not heard before. Leadership's a lonely place to be, or it can be.
Right?
It can be if you haven't got anyone to keep you company there. So that's something we might want to also think about for the future in advising leaders. Make sure you've got some company that can have the same conversations with you and understand what you're going through.
Yeah.
I would also recommend...
Or a challenge doesn't understand what you're going through, because that's sometimes where I've had some of my best ideas.
True. Well, yeah. Really good point. Yeah, really good point.
I would also recommend leadership coaching as well.
Yeah. We can give you some good details after this.
Fantastic.
Okay, so Albert, let's do one more question and then we'll go on to quick fire.
I've got one more. So Neil likes to do research before we go on to these subjects. We did slightly different research this time. We thought we'd get a view from people who are affected by the contribution you make. So one of the people that we spoke to, we'll tell you who that is later, I guess. One of the questions they'd liked us to put to you was how you've got here, all the things you've done, but some of that, and I think you've said it earlier as well, James, but if we just drill it a little bit more, what's the best advice anyone's ever given you about leadership that has helped get you to where you are today?
The best advice. So if we brush over make sure your people know, make sure you know what motivates your people, what they're passionate about, and move them into the roles that will see them to be the happiness. That would be a big one. But it's difficult. I would just say, don't forget, it's all about your people, right? It's not about you. It's not about your ego and your drive. Everybody loves a pat on the back and everybody loves the recognition that comes from, because you're the one that takes the risk. You're the one that's gonna, you're the one that's potentially going to get fired if it all goes wrong. And all that wonderful stuff, right? So it is nice to get some recognition for what you do, but remember, it's your people that have allowed you to get where you are. Even if they're following your ideas, right? It's still your people. So my one thing as a leader, just your people are everything. So mentor them, look after them, develop them, and put them in the right roles.
So that's advice you'd give to leaders, I think, was basically what Albert asked, and I'd be really interested in the answer on, is what's the best advice you've been given about leadership?
Oh, apologies. The best advice I've been given. That was play to your strengths and mitigate against your weaknesses. It's really, really obvious, right? But it's exactly what it is. Don't spend your entire life trying to get better at the things that you are bad at. If you are just bad at them, drop them and find other people to do them for you. You will be far happier and far more inspirational as a leader if you continue to do things you're passionate about. Yeah,
I think the readers of Horse and Hounds would be very happy with that answer. Thank you. Actually, it was Freddie, by the way, just so you know. But you probably know that's who we went to get.
No, but I'd assume there's a few common ones that you know, so I'm assuming it could have been
So we're gonna.
I'm surprised the question wasn't, what does he continually do wrong?
Yeah. No, actually, the other question was, what does he do every day? But we thought we wouldn't ask that. So we're going to do some quick fire questions now. Okay. I've added one in, Albert, so I'm going to start off.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So in the Star Wars movies, James, which leader do you most look up to for their leadership qualities?
I would say the Emperor.
The Emperor. And why?
No, actually, no, I would say Han Solo. There you go.
Okay. And why?
Because more like the reluctant leader, the one who was just the best person to do the job, but didn't see themselves as necessarily having to be the leader. Right? They were just better.
All right. Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mine is similar. I'm just not in Star Wars, right? So I'm in let's look in a wider world. A role model. Who would be a leadership role model for you? Anywhere in commerce, world, politics, acting?
No, I have a couple of them are similar to yours and Neil's, right? But I'll go on and qualify this quickly. So I love Obama because of the class that he brings to the. I mean, he was just a world apart. To Neil's point earlier, I like Rich Branson, right? I've always because he's very much about his people and that as well. But realistically, it's actually been a few of the people that I've worked for. The ones that I really and I've taken different things from each of them, right? I've taken Mark Durnley was a manager that I worked for ages ago. He taught me about patience and keeping my powder dry, right? Neil taught me about learning who I am and how to be inspirational and that. And the recent managing director of Softcat taught me how to be successful and humble at the same time.
Yeah.
So I try and take traits from people that I respect. So they're not these like Bill Gates and people like, they are fantastic and they have achieved a lot, but the impact that people have made to me is close to home.
Okay. Next question. When it comes to a leadership book that you gift, if you were going to gift a book to a new leader, what would be the one book you'd say you must read this?
Good to Great by Jim Collins.
Yeah.
Good to Great. I've only got a bunch. Radical Candor, 7 Habits. Start with Why. I throw them out randomly. So and if they're really entrepreneurial, I take your advice, Neil, and give them the 4-hour work week.
4-hour work week.
Yeah. So we've got a good audience following here. They'll listen in. What quote about leadership would you like to make that they'll remember James Hunnybourne by?
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick. Okay, that works. That works.
I'm sorry, but that is really important, right? A lot of work goes into finding the right balance of doing what's right for the business and what's right for your people, right? Yeah. And there is always a solution there somewhere. And if you have to do bad things and you have to deliver bad news, which we all hate doing, right? Just do it with as much compassion and empathy as you possibly can.
Yep. Fantastic.
And to be honest, I think that's probably. Should we wrap it up there, Albert?
I think we're there. I think we're that. Listen, that was really, really good, James. Joking aside, I was teasing you a little bit at the start about why you were here. You're here because Neil believed you were a great leader, and the feedback we were getting in the marketplace is that you're a great leader, and I believe you are, right? And by the way, I love the conversation here today. I also think that was James Hunnybourne, right? I don't think there was anything there that wasn't from the heart, which is fantastic.
No, it's just me, and it works for me. So, and thank you for those kind words, but it works. I've found the thing that works for me, and it doesn't work for everybody, and different companies are different. I'm very fortunate enough to be in a company that allows me to really be me, because I am very pro people and Softcat is very pro people. So, but if it wasn't, I wouldn't still be there. Yeah. I would go and find, because at least I'm self-aware enough to understand the qualities of a company that I want to work for, right?
Yeah, brilliant.
All yours, Neil.
Yeah, so I'd just say, big thank you, James, for joining us today on the podcast and on the leadership YouTube channel. Really great to see you. Great to see your progression and how you do it, and it's great to see you developing as a leader. And thank you. You've shared some fab tips there, so that's really great stuff. Thank you for that. Really good stuff. And to the listeners out there, the audience out there, if you like this, please give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe. James has just subscribed, so he's increased our subscriptions. So really appreciate that, James. But no, guys, thank you for listening. Please, if there's anything you'd like to hear from us, let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next episode.
Good to see you guys. All the best. Take
Cheers,
care.
James. Cheers. Take care.
Cheers, James. Take care.
Bye. Bye.